I remember for a while, nobody told me to smile. They had no way to know, it just wasn't on show. Do you remember when we said how we truly, really felt?
Hey guys, it's Andy Ellis, and it's time for another great episode of the Melodic Noise Insider podcast. Today, I'm sharing a chat I had with beloved singer-songwriter and now lead singer of Favorite Girl, Katy Vernon. The band just released their self-titled debut, produced by Kevin Bowe, and had a fantastic release show at the Parkway Theatre. We got into her growing up in the UK before moving to Minnesota, starting Favorite Girl, dug deep into the record, and much more. It was a great chat, so without further ado, here's the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Melodic Noise Insider podcast, lead singer of Favorite Girl, Katy Vernon. Katy, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, that's the first time I've ever heard myself referred to as the lead singer of Favorite Girl. That's a very nice thing to hear.
So, and we actually kind of get a little bit into right now is, you know, when you think of Favorite Girl, do you see it as, in a sense, like another kind of vessel for your songs? Is it more of a collaborative project than other things you've done musically?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of that. It's, you know, I still am a solitary songwriter. So it's not collaborative when it comes to the songwriting. So it's kind of the same as I've always done from that point of view. But then, you know, it's such a joy to then, you know, play a little acoustic ukulele number, you know, to four other talented humans and then say, you know, what can we do with this? How can we make it, you know, rock? And really within, you know, 2 or 3 times of playing it through, it's just really fun then for me to see kind of what the drummer comes up with, you know, what kind of experimentation is going to happen on lead guitar. So it's very collaborative from that point of view, but the song is already kind of, you know, written and arranged. But then even arrangements, you know, if someone's really digging in and kind of having fun with something that should then be a solo, you know, it always, whatever benefits the song, is like, yeah, definitely, you know, I don't need to be singing the whole time. And so that's quite different. But as far as like the feel of the band, it's almost like I'm kind of putting on another stage outfit. You know, I'm not the solo kind of vulnerable, heart on my sleeve singer-songwriter that you know, I mean, that's me. It's I don't want to stop talking about myself, you know, and as another person. But when I, you know, have a Favorite Girl gig, I very intentionally kind of gave us like a band look. I've never done that before, but, you know, let's all wear black and white or black or white, but, you know, at least look cohesive and look like we're kind of all heading to the same place. And that's almost me putting on my outfit, you know, putting on my Doc Marten boots and kind of getting on stage with a different attitude. And that's what feels different to me about having this band. It's like I've kind of got my armor on and I'm going to, you know, sing, you know, an hour or whatever it is about empowerment and feeling brave. And it just kind of brings out another side of me, which is a lot of fun.
So does it allow you to, in a sense, because I have a friend of mine, her name is Devin Worley. She's with the Devin Worley band, and I've talked a little about this, and she said something along the lines of like, when she steps on stage, it's kind of in a way a kind of blackout in a sense. Like she doesn't really always know. Like for you, is that kind of is it like an escape for you in a sense?
I would say it's an escape, but I would say it's the complete opposite of a blackout for me. For me, it is the place that I feel the most kind of awake and alive and confident. And I feel my truest self on stage. You know, if I have a day job, you know, I'm not, you know, not making tons of money at this whole music thing. But you know, I have a day job and sometimes I kind of feel like, you know, that's me going through whatever I need to do that day and doing my best and, being pleasant to people. But if people don't see me on stage, I feel like they're not seeing like all of me. But that's come with time, because I think I used to get so nervous that you just concentrate on doing what you're doing and, hope for the best. And, getting more comfortable on stage allows me even moments of kind of people watching. And I always try to just really like not lose myself and remind myself, like, I've got this. This is where I can excel, and this is where I'm like my most joyful. And I want to remind myself of that even while I'm doing it on stage, which, is kind of a lot of mental hoops to jump through. But if you can get to that stage where you're really enjoying being on stage and knowing that the audience wants you to do well, that's for me, a very calming kind of thought process, because then I can just fully enjoy being on stage. But I've been doing it a long time. I think it's come from just doing it a long time.
And so, and we're obviously going to be talking about Favorite Girl a lot. But I do want to go, I mean, because I know I first met you at this, it's a radio station called Bob Country, and you were on an episode of the Homegrown Show with who we all know now as PT from The Wolf.
Yeah.
And so, but one question I have is, I am, like all Americans, I love accents, and you obviously have one. And so can you, so you are from, it's East London, correct?
South East London.
East London. Okay.
I used to talk like that. Have you ever heard Adele talk?
Yes.
That's very much what my accent sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny because, she sings like an angel, and then you hear her talking like that. And that was kind of my accent. And I went to a very kind of rough school, like a very kind of not a good school.
Yeah.
And so it was very kind of rough and tumble there. But I lived in a very nice neighborhood. So I kind of had my feet in two different worlds. And then, I lost my parents before I was out of my teens. And so England is I grew up in, Southeast London. So England is a very, class system. I mean, it sounds so outdated, but it does still exist. I mean, we've got a king, for goodness sake. So, it's a very different kind of just system of people and how you define yourself. And I remember when I was 17 and my dad died, and my mom had already died a few years before that, thinking just for a moment, but it was such a ridiculous thought. I thought, what class am I now? Like, how am I defined? Because I was never posh, but then without parents at all, I was just like, I felt very much like I don't know where I fit in society. And then I realized at the same time, that's so ridiculous, because we're all the same, with different levels of privilege and stuff. But that's all to say, I don't know what accent I have anymore, because at 21, I moved to Minnesota, and that was a long time ago now. So, I have a very middling, strange accent, I think.
So when you were, because I mean, I listen to a lot of UK artists too, like when I'm not, looking to Minnesota music. But for you, like, when did you first notice like music affected you in a certain way than it affected others?
I mean, I've always loved to sing. And I think, obviously just growing up listening to the records my parents played. My mom was a massive Beatles fan. And so listening to the Beatles, I loved them. I mean, I didn't have any taste. So I also loved, Donnie and Marie. I've loved ABBA since I was a little kid. I sing in an ABBA tribute band now. And that really feels like a full circle moment, because as a little kid, I would bounce around my bedroom, listening to ABBA. So I've always loved singing. And then I think I never really saw myself as being a performing singer, though. I always, certainly not just as a musician. I saw myself being an actress who sang. That was kind of, that was where logically, because I thought, how do you get a job as a singer? Like, if you just love singing, to me, that seemed like you couldn't get work that way. That you'd need to like do something that just has singing as a part of the job. So I always thought I would go into musicals and perform in musicals, but I don't know. I mean, early influences were always kind of just fun dance music. Madonna, huge Madonna fan. So I've just always loved having music in my life. And songwriting was something that I just kind of did as a kid, just to amuse myself, just make up songs and have fun with that. But again, it never seemed like, how can you do that, as a job? Which I guess I still haven't really figured out. I'm still kind of thinking, how do I get paid for this? But
what's money? I don't understand that.
Yeah,
What's money?
And now with streaming, it's harder and harder to make money. But it was just kind of a constantly evolving thing to think that I could actually do it and do it in front of people. And it took me many, many years to actually just accompany myself and not, I always used to sing with other people, but learning to not only play an instrument to the point where I thought I could accompany myself, but to have the kind of nerves to go out there and perform that way. I mean, it's just, I think I'm a poster child for like never give up, because I was, playing with music as a kid in my 20s, kind of jumping up and singing with bands. And then it wasn't until my late 30s that I actually picked up the ukulele and actually started, accompanying myself. So it's been many, many years of figuring out kind of how to make music more a part of my life.
So before you moved to Minnesota, did you have any experience in the UK music scene at all, or did you all start? Yeah.
No, I should just invent a backstory and give you the exclusive that, I was big in the London clubs. No, I mean, I was a drama student, and I really did think I would just be, an actress. I loved acting, and I met and married an American. That was not part of kind of my life plan, but, I met him. We were both traveling around Europe on trains and got married very young. I mean, I got married at 21, and came to America. And then, just kind of started, the late 90s, being in kind of the young original band scene in Minneapolis, playing the 400 bar, the Fine Line, just kicking around, doing all of that stuff. But no, never big in the UK. But the lovely thing that's happened because of the ukulele is now I go back there and once a year. And since 2017, so for almost 10 years now, I go back to the UK and tour and do like the ukulele circuit and play, festivals there. And so now I do feel like I've kind of got the best of both worlds, that I actually legitimately have a music career in 2 different countries, which is pretty fun.
Do you notice, because I've heard rumors, is there a difference in the audiences between here and the UK?
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't, I'm not really comparing apples to apples.
Yeah.
Because, there it's very ukulele heavy, what I do. But I've also played clubs and bars where they don't care, what instrument you're playing. I'm just there to do the same thing I do here. I think that Minnesota audiences just are a little quiet. They could be a bit more stoic, that kind of famous. I found, and the last thing I want to do is alienate my Minnesota audience, because, they're responsible for 90% of my music career. But people will tell you how much they enjoyed something afterwards. You cannot always see that as much, as you're playing, because people are just a bit more reserved, I think, in Minnesota audiences. People tend to not get so close to the stage. I mean, I'm always such a fan of, and I'm kind of in awe when people are really great at stage work. And, especially like African-American acts will it's a huge generalization that I'm saying right now, but I've seen it so many times that, Black singers will get up on stage, singers or rappers, and they, even in Minnesota, they'll tell people to come to the front, come on in, let's do this together. And I'm just very kind of, British and white and not always as good as that. But again, that's something I'm kind of trying to work on with Favorite Girl, because the songs are naturally more upbeat, I think, than some of the sadder, more introspective things I've done in the past. And I'm trying to step it up and give people a show. I think people need a show. And it doesn't mean it's mindless and you're not paying attention to other things in the world. It's kind of the opposite. It's like, hey, come here. I want you to pay attention to something, but it's also going to be really catchy and we're going to have fun, dancing to it. So I think that's kind of where my head's at right now, which is a very long way to answer your question. But I think British audiences are a little bit more noisy and a bit more boisterous sometimes.
Yeah, and even like if I'm at shows, like I am very comfortable just like being in the back with a beer, just like I'll watch it. Like I'll be like, I swear, like I'm just very quiet, but good job.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'm quite loud, but I don't want to like draw attention to myself when someone's so I think we're all products of our environment, and it just takes one person to kind of get up and be boisterous, and then we can join in. But I definitely kind of sit at shows and just clap quietly too. So
and so I do want to actually just I mean, because we could talk about a lot, but I mean the favorite girl. I mean, I've been following your career for a while, just on Facebook and everything, and just like, oh, you knew a group, okay, this is cool. But then like it's even, so I think your debut single was Never Going Back, and as in my mind, that song itself has a very kind of punk rock energy to it, but it is like you guys have a very fun sound to it, and it's not easy to do if you're maybe if something's it's political, but it's fun though. Like I've always said, like there's a very thin line between like really good, I guess maybe one called protest song and really bad campaign jingle. And so but like with Never Going Back, and we're going off of my outline, but who cares? But can you talk about that song, because it seems like, I mean, it's definitely, how does someone like that come about for you?
So it's not going back, just
going back.
Just to get that clear. But that wasn't even its original title. So its original title was going to be New Normal, and kind of the beginning of the song was people were throwing around, this is our new normal now. As we were kind of coming out of the pandemic, and it was 2021, 2022 was when I wrote it, and people kept saying that things would return to normal and this would be our new normal, and I thought, I really hate that term, like it annoys me. And so when I have strong feelings about something, it kind of starts me thinking, well, maybe I should write about this. What is it that's kind of on my mind about this? And I started to write a song that was really meant to kind of say, all the shutdowns and the masking and the distancing, like all of that was so hard. But, I really believed that was the only way that we were going to save each other's lives. It was this incredibly overwhelming worldwide thing. I mean, people politicized it so much wherever, but it was so much bigger than any one governor or government or country. It was this worldwide, trauma. And I just thought, I hope that we all, and I meant, all of humanity, because, I'm a liberal tree hugger. So I was like, I hope all of humanity learns lessons from this. I hope all of us learn more empathy from this. And I hope that we come out of this with a new way of caring about each other and wanting to care about each other. And at the same time, there was this huge backlash of people politicizing it and attacking each other. I posted a decorated mask that I had, made. So it's like, hey, if you're going to wear a mask every day, make it cute, and I was trying, I was being serious. I have a brother, who has very, extreme healthcare needs. And he was on my mind every day, like he had COVID twice, and he was very, very vulnerable. And luckily he's okay. But, like many of us, it was a very scary time. And so I just tried to, do my best. And I posted this, little picture, and immediately the comments on Facebook were so mean. And somebody, said, enjoy wearing your stupid face diaper. And I just thought, why do we talk to each other this way? Why? When did it get okay, to joke about life or death, be so cruel to each other and la 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 la. Long story short, that's where I wrote the song. And then the strangest thing happened where I had already decided I didn't like the name of the song and I wanted to change it to Not Going Back. And then literally I saw on the news the Democratic convention and people holding up signs that were saying not going back. And, I said to the band at the very next practice, I was like, I kind of think that should be the next song we release because it's resonating with people. And like, I didn't write it because of that. But we recorded it and we got it out there. And it really has kind of become a bit of a, campaign rally song. And I'm very, very proud of that. And it was a privilege to perform it at two No Kings rallies, which, made a lot of people on the internet really mad at me. But, at least they were paying attention, listening to my song. I have no regrets.
So one thing I'm curious about is because if I remember right, that song was released during the previous administration, correct? And
yeah,
then now
November, like kind of right before the election.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So and I think one thing I'm curious about is and I think you talked about a little bit about it at the release show, which was really good, by the way. I love that release show.
I forgot you were there.
Yes, yep. I was our friend Chris's +1.
Yes, I love that.
Once the results of the election kind of were known and everything, did that song like take on a new meaning for you in a sense?
Yeah, it's interesting because for a moment, for a sad moment as, reality was sinking in, because I really didn't think that we would have this administration again, and that, version 2 would be even worse. So I think I was a little bit in shock, like many people. And then the song, it did feel like, is that just kind of useless? It's because a couple of people said, they didn't even want to hear that phrase anymore. And they weren't attacking my song. They were oblivious to my song. But just like, we can't even say not going back anymore. We did go back, and I thought, oh no, is my song like outdated? Is it bad? Is it just useless now? But for me, in the last kind of few months, especially the last few months in Minnesota, I feel even stronger in the resolve that no matter what's happening and what decisions and what crimes are happening, that I can't do anything about, that I refuse to lose my humanity and I refuse to treat other human beings as illegal or as garbage or as inconvenient or as not worthy. Like, I'm not going to treat people that way. And I think that there's a very strong resolve in many people that I admire and many, many people that I don't know who stood up, in the last few months in Minnesota and said, even if you say this is lawful, you can't treat fellow human beings inhumanely. And so for me, and I don't want to be all full of myself, it's just a song, but it's a song that kind of pumps me up again to say, you know what? Society can do whatever society's doing, but I refuse to be cruel and not value people.
Also helps that the song's really enjoyable and it's
first and foremost, make a catchy song.
Yeah, and that's that because I think it was I can't remember who there's this hip hop guy named I think his name's Talib Kweli. And she was and she was saying something along the lines of like, because I think he was on the back when Trevor Noah was hosting the Daily Show. He was on there, I think, and I think he was saying like how it's like, look, with protest music, the first thing is that like the song's gotta be good first. Like you can't,
Absolutely.
you
otherwise, like you say, it just sounds like a campaign jingle.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be hit over the head with something. You got to have a spoonful of sugar. And, I've been writing songs kind of about alcoholism and death and grief and mental illness. That's kind of my jam. And you gotta, they gotta be catchy because you gotta want to actually listen to them.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very therapeutic to sing songs that, they're enjoyable to sing. So yeah, the pop roots are deep. And if something isn't catchy, and Kevin Bowe will be the first to tell you, the one who produced my album with me. If you don't hook people, it really doesn't matter what you say, because people are not going to tune in. And like I said, I love ABBA, I love Madonna. I mean, I love Lady Gaga. I'm a true pop fan, and something has to be really catchy. That's what I enjoy writing. That's what I enjoy singing. So yes, always the pop first. And if I sat down and thought I'm going to write a really serious protest song, nothing would come out. I would get in my own way and trip over trying to be serious if I did that.
Well, also it's like, if you listen to a lot of pop music, like they, if you really look at the lyrics, like, there is a lot hidden in the lyrics. I think like I was listening to, I'm on those where it's like I love going back into music and just kind of seeing like what I've missed and stuff. And so like I was listening to some of like I think it was like some of like Sting's like early post police. I was like, oh wait, that's actually some serious stuff he's talking about. And so it's just like, as long as you like make it catchy, like people will listen to it.
Yeah, I mean that's the aim. So yeah, it's funny though, because I always think, I listen to songs on the radio and I think, they literally repeated the chorus like 30 times. Like, I never do that. Like, maybe I should do that more. Maybe then I'd have a big hit. But you gotta still be true to yourself.
So you did bring up Kevin Bowe, and he was a friend of mine, and he was one of my favorite teachers or professors at IPR back when I went there, and he worked on your previous solo record with you.
Yeah, so he has now produced 3 of my albums, and they were all band albums. So the Katy Vernon band. So I never really felt great about just calling it the Katy Vernon band. So it was all just released under Katy Vernon, but they were full band efforts. And yeah, we did our first couple of tracks at IPR for one of those sessions that bands could come in. And we tracked 2 songs back in like 2014. One was called Pearl and one was called Lily. And Lily is, up at that point, that was like my catchiest song I'd ever written. It's still a lot of people's favorite song of mine. And so we tracked those at IPR. And then because that kind of went so well, the band and I all scheduled time and recorded a 2015 album called Present with Kevin. And then I followed that up with band, same band members in 2019. And we made Suit of Hearts. So Suit of Hearts, up until now, up until Favorite Girl was my most recent CD. And now, yeah, 3rd time with Favorite Girl.
So I mean, when you are looking into to starting this record with Favorite Girl, I mean, is it automatic Kevin Bowe, or is there still conversations like, hey, is he still the right person for this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't completely set on that. I was kind of open to I wanted to kind of explore. Actually, I even did a studio visit with another producer, and I kind of talked to friends and asked people. But, nothing really replaces the working relationship that I feel like I've established with Kevin. Just the amount of trust and respect. And I really do feel just very respected by him. And, for all the feistiness of these, songs, which are all like, you got it, stand up for yourself, believe in yourself. They're all very empowering songs. I wrote those songs for a reason, and that's because I often struggle with those feelings. And so I very much, kind of knowing my vulnerability, the fact that I was working with a brand new band, just one member, Paul Odegaard, who I've worked with before, I needed to really feel just 100% kind of supported and respected in the studio. And, that was Kevin. So really, I can't imagine making the record with anyone else.
So I want to, before we get further into the record, I want to talk a little bit about kind of assembling Favorite Girl. I mean, was this a, hey, I'm putting a band together, this is who I want, or how did it come about for you?
It evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it evolved. So in 2021, the Katy Vernon band broke up, just kind of went our separate ways. I was very low at that point because I thought we could ride the wave of Suit of Hearts kind of to bigger, better, stages. And it had a really great, press reaction. I won a prize internationally. It was named the best ukulele record of the year by the Uke magazine, a ukulele magazine in the UK. Very niche, but big deal in my world. And then of course, 2020 happened, and so kind of all gigs stopped. And then in 21, to come back together and then break up just kind of felt like a triple, knock on the head. And I really, kind of wondered if it was the end of the road, for having a band, for kind of knowing what I was doing. Turning 50 was looming, on the horizon. And I just thought, who wants to hear from a 50-year-old woman in the burbs, And I really, really lost my confidence. So as I started to kind of come out of that and write songs that were expressing kind of some of those feelings, Paul Odegaard was, kind of the sole remaining member of the Katy Vernon band. And he was just like, just don't give up on yourself. These songs are great. Keep writing. You'll put together a new band. If you ever do, I want to be in it. And I said to him, well, really, all I want to do is start like a female rock band, like all female. And he was like, okay, well, if there's any role for me, that'd be cool. If not, that's fine too. I mean, he was just such a good cheerleader. And so I approached, some women that I knew, and kind of, put out feelers. And I started with Jenny Case, who is still a very good friend. And she's in the ABBA tribute band that I'm in, Absolutely Fab. The great thing about Jenny Case is, I don't know if you are familiar with this, but have you heard of She Rock?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah. So she started She Rock, She Rock. And for anyone listening who doesn't know, it is a camp it started as a camp for young girls and non-binary kids to put instruments in their hands, give them pretty intensive lessons for a week, and they form a band, they write a song, they learn some covers, and at the end of the week, they put on a concert. And it's fabulous. And my girls did it when they were little, and it's just a ton of fun. Well, because of that, there's like now generations. I don't know how long she's done it, but I think it's 20 years, maybe. It's been a long time now. She knows a lot of female musicians in town because she's had them either go through her camps or they've taught at her camps. And so if you ever want to find, a drummer or a bass player in town who's not a guy, Jenny is a great resource. So we went through a couple of different lineups. Obviously that's always kind of hard too, but, I tested out a couple of people, and people's schedules were busy or they were in other bands. And so it took a little while to find this lineup. And we actually recorded our first two singles, Favorite Girl and Not Going Back, with Barb Brinstad, who's an incredible bass player. She plays in Turn, 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 and several other bands.
Mm-hmm.
She's a busy woman, but she was the original bass player. And then, after those two songs, she, had to step back because she was just so busy.
Mm-hmm.
But she did it in the best way. If you're ever going to quit a band, you should take a page from Barb's book, because she said she loved the songs, so that's good. Always flatter the band if you're going to quit it. But she said she loved the songs. She believed in the band. She was just too busy to do it at the time. And she recommended who we ended up with, which is Daisy Forrester. And she's known Daisy. So all three women in the band came out of She Rock. And we've got Elise Emanuel on drums, Ali Picala on lead guitar. And Elise and Ali had a teenage band together because of meeting through She Rock. And then a few years younger than that, we have Daisy Forrester, who was a fan of Elise and Ali when they were in their teenage band. So that's a very long answer to saying that all of these wonderful women came out of something really cool that exists in Minnesota for women and girls. And they do camps now for, for grown-up ladies too. So it's a very just empowering thing. And I just feel really, really grateful that there's, generations of young women now in music that feel a lot more confident and empowered than I ever did. I watch them and kind of, I'm in awe of their confidence and just what great players they are. They're really, really good at their instruments.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, a lot of great music from uh female and other artists coming out from not even here, but just
Mhm.
like the all around too. I
Yeah.
mean, like I've noticed how, like, when I look at, the main quote unquote pop stars, like it's all women, or it's all
There's
those,
a real power wave.
and it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you just had Sabrina Carpenter just had Madonna
I
on
know.
her. I'm just kind of like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
But then a whole wave of people going, who was the lady that Sabrina Carpenter brought on stage?
Yeah. Just like, it's like, now you pay your respects, because this is like,
It reminds me when I was a little kid, the Say 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 video came out.
yeah.
And I said to my mom, like, oh my gosh, who is that boy singing with Paul McCartney? He's amazing. And my mom just looked at me and like rolled her eyes. And she's like, that is Michael Jackson. And she was like mad at me that I didn't know. But I'm like, but I'm 10. I don't know who that is. But I didn't connect him. I felt like I missed a few steps because I did know the little afro haired, version of, singing ABC, but I didn't put it together that was, the handsome boy singing with Paul McCartney. Anyway, so that's embarrassing. But it's okay if young people don't know who Madonna is. That's my point. Because you can go home after the concert and look her up, and what a treat to discover Madonna.
And she has a new album coming out too, apparently this year, I think.
She is, yeah. She's doing I think it's Confessions on a Dance Floor Part 2.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's like a reworking of
Yeah.
something. Anyway.
But also, you were mentioning Daisy Forrester, and I had to laugh a little bit because the Parkway turned into like almost like a Daisy Forrester showcase, because she was like,
well, and that was partly because obviously I asked if she's in 2 other bands right now, but I asked if one of her bands would want to open, and that was fun. And then really, the third kind of showcase of Daisy that night was singing one of her originals, and that is a new release that she has out under another band's name. They're called Oyster Boy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it would be fun to ask her if she would want to perform that. And we were originally going to learn it as a band and just kind of do our best to, to support the song and play it. But literally, when she played it in practice and Paul on trumpet just accompanied her, it was so charming and lovely. And I just thought it would be kind of a goosebump moment. And, I'm trying, when I said earlier, like I feel my most, honest self on stage. I love being on stage. I love singing. I love showing off. But at this stage in my life, I also love witnessing that for other people and helping create that and make that happen. And the song Shine on my album is all about, if you ever have the privilege of standing on a stage, I personally feel like you owe it to bring someone else with you and shine that light on them too. Because I've been the beneficiary of that, and I want to kind of continue to do that. And just when you're there to witness someone having a beautiful moment, it's selfishly really enjoyable for yourself too. And I just thought her voice on that big stage would be a treat for everybody. So it was fun. It was a fun moment.
Yeah, and also that version, because I actually interviewed Oyster Boy a couple years back, and I mean, but that version is just her. I mean, she can play the bass really well too. I mean, but like it was just really good. Like she can sing really well. It's kind of like, what can't you do?
It was just so powerful,
Yeah,
And I was
exactly,
like, this is a night of celebrating powerful female voices, and it didn't all have to be me. I mean, that's part of having a band too, is that I hope people, come to Favorite Girl gigs because they love seeing how, Elise plays the drums. I mean, she's the smiliest. I mean, she's not only one of the best drummers in town, but she's just such a force of joy and happiness to watch. And, I had people mention that to me after the show, so I hope that people appreciate that, you're witnessing 5 different people doing something that they love doing. I hope that comes across on stage.
But yeah. When I was watching Daisy, just like, I mean, she's one of those kind of like because I've only seen her play a couple times before this, but there's just some people who are just kind of like, you just enjoy watching them how they play the instrument. It's just like, oh, this is just
Yeah.
really fun to watch.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's fun for me to feel that on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played with all kinds of different people, and it isn't always fun. Sometimes people are worried about making mistakes, and like, I've never ever appreciated people that criticize, something that you did as soon as you walk off stage. It's like, you can save that for a band meeting, maybe a couple of days from now. Like yeah. So, looking like you're having fun on stage is one thing, but really, really genuinely feeling it is a lovely thing.
So getting into the record here. The first song is "Thank You."
Thank you for always telling me what to do. I don't know what I'd do without you. Thank you. Showing me what to plug in the guitar. I'm already playing. Thank you. Interrupting me to explain what I was already saying. Thank you. Thank you for always telling me what to do. My little lady brain is confused. Thank you.
You and I talked about this when we were at the Minnesota Music Resistance listening party, and like, to me, I maybe it's because like we're friends on social media and everything, so it's like, I kind of know who you are in a sense, personality wise, but like this song is drenching in sarcasm, like it is. So, but like it's I love the ukulele start, and then like it does have like this, like a punk rock kind of fast feel to it as well. Can you talk about the song and, I mean, how it came about?
I think a lot of it just came from it really kind of social media, and seeing how you could be on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but kind of at the time I was on Twitter, and you would literally see men explaining things to women that the women themselves were experts in. And I just kept thinking, there's so many instances where I've said, so I've always kind of had a cheeky kind of, quick retort to things, and, being quite, probably inappropriate a lot. But, in school, I would always think of something kind of funny to say, and I would say it kind of quietly. And then a boy in class would hear me, and they'd repeat it, and then they'd get the laugh. And I'd think, oh, I said that, and then even as a grown up, you get kind of cut off in a meeting, and then a guy says the same idea that you just said, and then they're the smart one in the room, getting attention. And so things like that really annoyed me. And then when I saw it happening on social media, it then began to kind of amuse me instead, and think like, it's actually quite funny that women know so many mansplaining instances, but we still, are kind of polite about it. And I thought, I don't want to be polite. I want to call it out and just make fun of it. And so then once I started thinking of examples, the song, really started to kind of come along. And my favorite thing about recording that song was doing the backing vocals.
Okay.
And Daisy and Allie and I standing in the hallway at Kevin Bowe's house, because he has a home studio, just standing in the hallway and going, like really loudly, and it just kind of underscored that saying thank you is not actually the sweet thing that it sounds like it is. It's definitely more of an insult. So I don't know, it was fun to write a song that has serious undertones, because of course it's not okay to be to have your voice dismissed, but if you can laugh at it, it helps. So yeah, it's a very different song for me. I mean, it's certainly not the kind of song I've ever written before.
I really liked the part, and I don't know how much was just as you wrote it or during recording, but when you kind of purposely make your voice comically a little small with my little lady brain gets confused, I'm like, okay, that's funny. That's really
Thank
funny.
you. I'm glad that you think it's funny. Also, I keep writing songs for Favorite Girl, I think, because I'm just excited. I keep writing songs that are too fast for me to sing. And thank you is such a mouthful to sing. So some of it, I'm literally just trying to like get the words out and hope that they can still be understood, because if you sing it too fast, people just, they don't even understand what the lyrics are. So it's a fine line between that. But yeah, I thought Lady Brain was just too funny not to have in a song.
It's almost like a skit on like SNL, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I know I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Would you say you have a lot of influences that are comedians?
Um, no, I mean, I think I've always loved comedy. I grew
Mm-hmm.
up watching French and Saunders. That was kind of my British, kind of comedy. I think I've always liked people that can laugh at themselves. I mean, I've spent a life dealing with, very early grief. I mean, as a kid, and I think, using humor as kind of just a coping mechanism has been kind of a constant stream in my life. So yeah, I mean, you make people pretty uncomfortable when you start talking about, grief or alcohol use, and so to balance it with humor, I think is definitely a default of mine.
So we did already talk about not going back.
I'm not going back. I'm not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. I don't wanna know whatever new normal is. I've already been there.
But actually, one thing I'm curious about with that is we talked about how it was released during the previous administration, and then the current one came into the office. One thing I'm curious about is what do you remember about like that first day going back into the studio, knowing knowing who's going to be sworn in soon, about that? Like, what do you remember about being in the studio? Like, I mean, was there any kind of talk about that, or was it kind of like, hey, let's play music and do what we were going to do here? I mean,
I think it was mostly the latter. I'd already committed to, doing the record.
mhm.
And it's always good to have kind of a project and a distraction. It's a weird time though. I mean, it's still a weird time to even talk about
Yeah.
releasing music because obviously life is so hard, and even if it's just hard for people to afford to go to a show, I mean that's a difficult thing. I'm like, I'm not going to expect someone to, choose between coming to my release show or filling up their gas tank. I mean,
Mhm.
things are hard, and obviously, the previous few months have been even harder. But I think, going back a whole year, it was really a case of I love writing music. I was enjoying, putting this new band together, and to just kind of just keep going at it because you never know how something's going to be received. You never know if you're even going to finish a project. So I think it was just I was lucky enough to have people in my life that were excited about this project and just wanted to see where it went. I mean, Favorite Girl really only ever kind of was a little bit of a mental health lifeline to me to kind of fall in love with songwriting and want to get back on stage again, after a band breakup. And then surrounding myself with people that I thought it would be fun to play music with again. And if it was only ever one song, it was kind of one song and then, okay, we did that. Let's do a second song. And then I started kind of dreaming about doing a full album. And, like I mentioned, then Barb, stepped away. So I think that was all kind of happening about a year ago. And, finding Daisy and continuing on was really then when the record, kind of, we committed all in, we're just going to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, even now, I struggle thinking, is any of this important? But I do feel, I mean, as daily, we get more and more kind of crazy news stories.
Yeah.
I personally feel like really, really glad that I made a feminist record right now. I mean, I think I inject humor sometimes because if you talk about being a radical feminist, people kind of cover their ears and run for the hills. But I'm like, I'm literally just singing about being equal. And I'm literally just singing about speaking up for yourself and believing in yourself. And that's not even really a male female thing. That's something we really need to do right now because people are feeling really oppressed and stressed. And, I think connecting to your own humanity and your own confidence and strength is really what we need right now. So I'm really happy that we have, some bops that I think will make people feel better about themselves. So I've gone from feeling like, oh my God, everything's overwhelming and I have nothing to say to feeling like, yeah, everything is still overwhelming, but I have some things to say.
Well, it's also it's one of those where it's just like yes, music can be fun, but sometimes it is like, I mean, there's a reason they're called protest songs. Like
Yeah.
they're there like for that. Like it's and it helps even better if they're enjoyable to listen to. I mean, I still remember because I mean I come from the more country Americana side of things. Is I remember going to one of my first country concerts and their encore was Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is great, Born in the USA. And then like I read it up on like the actual meaning of it. And it's kind of like, oh, this is a different kind of song.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so crazy that people, a certain amount of people are mad at Bruce Springsteen for, singing at No Kings. And it's like, did you ever read his lyrics? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. So one of those I guess you could say bops is Gather. I really like the kind of crowd sample intro there.
Yeah, thanks. That was a Kevin Bow touch.
Yeah.
And he was nervous about it. And I was like, no, the only thing I have to say about that is we need more of it. So it's a little longer and a little louder because of me, because I liked that idea very much. And that whole song is very pandemic. I mean, if you know the words, it's all about how even those of us that find being social a little mentally draining, like miss it. If it goes away completely, then I miss people. So
well, it's just like even the line of like, once we're out of danger, I'm hugging every stranger.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think I did at my CD release. I did hug everybody.
Yeah. And then like, because the song itself, like it's not slow, but it's subdued and like it's happy but not ecstatic. Can you talk about this song and I mean writing it and just like how the final thing came to be?
Yeah, I mean it's a song that became much more soulful once we recorded it because I don't even really know what genre it would have been. I mean, I think, I could have written and performed that song with my old band, the Katy Vernon band, and it would have been more Americana sounding because we would have had the twangy guitar and, Clay Williams is a really excellent guitar player. And I think it would have gone more in the Americana direction. But with the way that Ali Picala played it, it almost has more of a mean, I don't even want to say Sade, but kind of more of a like British soul
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
feel. And that is something that's kind of way in the back of my head, but part of me. And the way that she just kind of leaned, it was very kind of loungy and sexy,
Yeah.
the way that she played the guitar, and she really helped me find the groove. Because I will say that kind of probably the biggest thing between writing a song and then working it out with the band is that I tend to play the ukulele, kind of filling every gap and kind of keeping it upbeat, and all the things I do that I'm kind of used to doing as a ukulele player, and I just have to kind of play less and give things more space so that the other band members can kind of find their groove. And once they've all found their groove, I can kind of then lay my original melody again back on top, but like kind of go at a different pace. And that's really a fun, it doesn't change even kind of, any of the real elements of the song, but it completely changes the feel of the song because, drums, bass, guitar, they're all kind of, looping in and out of each other's kind of vibe. And then I get to kind of reinsert myself and do less, which is fun because I mean, yesterday I did a 2 hour solo show, and it's like, okay, I'm doing this the whole time. I love kind of when I can just sing over the top of what people are doing and play the ukulele, but play it a little less, which is fun. So yeah, I mean, a lot of kudos go to Ali for the feel of that one, and I don't know where that came from for her. Something spoke to her.
So another one I liked is Not Fun Anymore.
I try to protect you, save you from harm, let my love insulate you, keep you warm. I did all the heavy lifting to keep the weight off of you, didn't want to drag you down, so I carried you. Now you run for the door, 'cause I'm not fun anymore. You run for the door, 'cause I'm not fun anymore.
And so I remember hearing this at the release show, and it came to mind then. And it's came to mind every time I've heard of it. And so with this, I have one question to ask you. Are you a big fan of Alanis Morissette?
I wouldn't say a big fan, but I mean, I like her.
Because,
I lived here in the 90s, so, you kind of have to. But yeah, I don't own any of her records, but I've always enjoyed everything I've heard.
Because and it's really sad because every time her song Ironic, it like every time the first verse comes up for a song, like the way your ukulele is and your voice, like the melody and the phrasing is so similar to that song.
Oh no.
And then I mean, the good thing was kind of like, is that like, yeah. Watch out now.
Definitely not deliberate. Yeah. It's funny though that you mentioned her because she has that song, Thank You, India, Thank You. Maybe it's called Thank You.
Okay.
I don't even know. But she has a song that lyrically kind of, she says thank you to all these different places. And that was something that when I thought of writing the song Thank You, I thought, ooh, I hope I'm not copying Alanis Morissette. But she was literally paying tribute to different things in her life that helped her grow as a person. So it's a completely different idea than saying thank you to mansplainers that you're not really saying thank you to. But so it's funny that you would mention that. But no, I'll have to give that a listen because I don't know that it sounds similar to that. So I'll have to go look.
Because like this song, like I was just listening to it, and it kind of, to me, it seems like it's like a relationship breakdown, and you're the only one putting in the work to try and make it work. Like the lyric, I did all the heavy lifting to keep the weight off of you.
Yeah.
Can you talk about this song and how it came about for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the most overtly band breakup song I've ever written. And yeah, that was how it felt. You know, when you have someone say to you, it's not fun anymore. Um, for me, it just felt like, well, I did so much. So what wasn't fun about it? You know, I tried to, you know, I mean, I'm a very type A bossy person. And, you know, I do all the booking, I do all the writing, I do all that, you know, I do all these things to kind of keep the band going. And then, you know, to be told by someone that you've spent years with, you know, at that point, that it's just not fun for them. Um, you know, you kind of want to say, well, it's not fun for me either, but I kept doing it all. But I realized very kind of quickly into writing it that I hoped that anyone who had been through a breakup, and not a band breakup, but like a real devastating life, you know, breakup, because you can recover, you know, from these things. But I was surrounded by friends who, you know, three of my friends went through divorces coming out of COVID. A lot of people did not come out of COVID the same, you know, as they were before. And obviously thousands of people died, including a couple of people I knew. And so it was kind of, you take your inspiration maybe from something, but then as you're writing it and as you're performing, sometimes it becomes something else. And so I hoped that that song would empower people to kind of say, I gave it everything, and it's just, you know, it just didn't work, and you can still continue, you know, after that.
So when you're writing, especially looking at the lyrics part of it, you
Yeah.
know, it's based off of a, you know, band breakup, which is still again a kind of a breakup of relationships.
Yeah.
And like, do you write it from the perspective of like a band breakup in a sense, or do you kind of like, okay, well, let's make this more about relationships than a band? Do you do that consciously?
I don't really do it consciously. I mean, I try to, when I write, I try to not, like, I think it's very important to be very, very honest with the emotions of what you're trying to say. You know, I try, you know, to kind of really get to the heart of how I feel about something, and kind of, you know, just be very clear with that intention of like, this is the emotional honesty of this moment that I want to write about, because that's what's cathartic to me. It's like I'm feeling something and it's kind of, you know, stuck in my throat. That means I need to get it out. And that to me is kind of the oomph to write a song. But then at the same time, leaving a little bit of leaving it to people's imagination too, to try to make it somewhat universal, that anyone could listen to it and relate about it being about something else. I mean, I've taken the smallest little, you know, kind of arguments between my husband and I, where I've just been like, oh, he's so wrong about that. And I'll write a song and it's like this epic breakup song. And of course, I'm not breaking up with my husband. It just got the wheels turning, you know. So it's a little bit of both, I think. And, you know, I mean, the last thing I'd want to do is make anyone, you know, in the old Katy Vernon band think they emotionally devastated me and I don't like them anymore. You know, that's all, you know, water under the bridge. It's all good. But I got some good songs out of it.
Yeah. Hey. So then there is a song I really, really enjoy listening to, Confetti.
Throw your own, throw your own, throw your own confetti. Show the world how much you care. Throw your own, throw your own, throw your own confetti. Take this feeling anywhere. Everybody's chasing a rainbow, trying to find their place in the stars. All you need is already in you. You already traveled so far. When you feel you're lost, don't throw it all away. 'Cause there's still so much to celebrate today. Hey, throw your own, throw your own, throw your own.
It's when I hear that trumpet, and Paul does a lot of really good trumpet on this whole album.
Yeah,
It's
very
almost like an additional lead guitar.
Yeah,
That
very much so. And they trade off.
very well. Yeah.
They trade off doing solos and stuff.
And I remember when his trumpet comes in for the intro, like I can
Yeah,
almost
it's a good
see
intro.
like confetti cannons going off as
Yes.
he's playing.
Did you ever watch the video? We made a video.
I don't think I have. Sorry, I don't
It's
think
on
I.
YouTube. No, don't say sorry, but you might enjoy it. There's not
Okay.
confetti cannons, but we do have little poppers.
Hey.
I didn't have a cannon budget, but we filmed a video for it, and it came out on New Year's Day. And I mean, it was a bit of a like sad trombone because to even schedule everyone to be in the video was amazing because it's not easy to get band members together for things. There's a reason why there's dolls on the cover. It was not easy to schedule a photo shoot, but so we made this really fun video and released it on New Year's Day, 2026, January 1. And literally every single day since then, in January, just got worse and worse news. And it felt really in poor taste to even try to push. I mean, I put it out already, but to even like try to remind radio stations or share it on social media seemed really kind of in poor taste. Because, I mean, it's not a song that's in poor taste at all. I mean, I stand by it completely, which is that, life is hard. You might not always believe in yourself. You might think everybody else is winning this race of life, that isn't a race or a competition. And you should hopefully just celebrate, whatever moment you get in a day or whatever moment your friend or family, has done something that they're proud of, celebrate it, big or small. But I didn't really feel like pushing that, as our single in January in Minneapolis because things got really, really scary. So it actually took me by surprise when it was listed on a website as one of the best new songs of the year, and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot I even released it because it's such an upbeat, happy song. I felt like no one was in the mood for it.
So and then there is a backup plan.
If you don't want me just as I am, what you think of me ain't worth a damn. I never had a backup plan. Not gonna hitch my ride to a man. Got my own story that I need to tell. Baby, don't worry, I don't need your help.
And it's more acoustic based, and it's a little
Yeah.
more. I would say probably one of the more, I guess, sincere sounding songs I would say on the record.
Well, it's very heavily into harmonies. That was kind of a big motive for that song. Was that I wanted to be in a band with other women that could sing, and there's 3 of us singing on it, and it's just really pretty shared vocals, which is fun to do live too, because I've really never had that experience. I've always had to just record my own backing vocals, and so to have other women and other voices on the record was really fun. And the song again is kind of just all about trying to empower yourself. And sometimes I look at other people's music careers and feel kind of pangs of jealousy for the bigger stages or the bigger artists that they've worked with. But I've always wanted to do my own thing, and even on a small scale, that's something to be proud of. I've backed myself, I've believed in myself, and I've kept going. And I've, written. I could, have sung backing vocals or been a part of someone else's project and maybe played on bigger stages. But here I am, doing my own music on sometimes bigger stages, and that feels good.
Yeah, because one, and I think this is a line that kind of hits as people get older too. Is I'm not wasting one more day trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
Took me way too long to say that I'm worth it. And that last line, I mean, anyone who's been through self-confidence issues is just a key. I've done way too much to just say to kind of care about your stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I know so many musicians who they are waiting to be perfect, and they're recording in their basements, and they're, maybe playing for their friends, but you know, they're held back by, insecurities, or just, I mean, frankly, it's a lot of work even to get a gig. So a lot of people give up, because you can send, I mean, I've sent hundreds and hundreds of emails out to people that I'm sure many people, if they even read them, think, well, she's delusional. I don't even know who this person is, and they never reply. And there's so many reasons to stop or give up on yourself. And I don't want to do that. So, if I'm going to be up on a stage, worst case scenario is like I mess up. And I mean, you saw even at the release show, I had complete like moments of like, how do I play this strange thing I'm holding, but you push through it, and you do it anyway. And yeah, there's no point waiting to be perfect.
Well, it's like, and also especially when you mentioned the release show, and you know, on my end, it's like it's one of those where, you know, if you do quote unquote mess up, it's memorable, and everyone in the
Yeah.
audience wants you to win anyway. So it's kind of like, oh, it's, you know what,
Yeah.
she could do what she needs to do, and it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's human. I mean, we're all going to be entertained by perfect AI robots, in
yeah,
another
yeah.
services.
Give it
So
5 minutes.
we might as well celebrate
Yeah.
human beings. Yeah.
And then there's Kissing Boys.
Open my heart to find some comfort in the word. Don't tell me to be quiet, I wanna start a riot. Don't say you tried to save me, tried to manipulate me. I was so scared back then, but you can't scare me again.
And this and I felt like this was kind of like one of your more ones about growing up and maybe growing up in the church too. Can you talk about this one?
Yeah. So, I mentioned that my mom died when I was 12. So I had an interesting relationship with the church because I used to always love going to sing in the choir. So I sang in the choir from, I mean, I don't even know how old. I was probably like 8 or 9, maybe even younger when I joined the church choir, and I loved singing in the choir because I just loved singing. And then I would go a lot because I was in brownies and Girl Scouts and all those kind of things. And then as my mom got sick, she got more and more kind of seriously religious. I wasn't really raised terribly religious. I literally was the only member of my family getting up early and like, running up the hill to go to the church, and enjoying that. But my mom got more and more religious as she got sick. She died of lymphoma. And so after she died, I really just tried to find, I already felt like I had a community because I would go to Sunday school and I knew some of the boys and they were cute, which leads to the song. But so I found comfort and community through going to church. And then I went to a couple of church camps. And then, things kind of take a dark turn because I was very much, and it took me kind of a few years to really understand it, but I was definitely groomed, and then abused by older man in the church, older than me at the time. He wasn't an old man, but he was probably 20 or something. So anyway, many people, I won't even say women, just many human beings have this story, and the same experience of people being inappropriate with them. And it's very damaging, to your self-esteem, to everything. It's a huge break of trust. And started to really kind of put me off religion because I felt it was very hypocritical that this person I trusted, was the person that abused that trust. And then, why write a song about that? That kind of, it's one of the newer songs. Confetti and Kissing Boys were the last 2 songs that were written for the album. So Favorite Girl and its current lineup was already playing and had some shows under our belt when those 2 new songs were written. And I literally made a joke one time on Facebook that the only good thing I ever got out of church camp was kissing boys and winning talent shows. And it was very true because I was very keen on a couple of the boys at the church. And so I was kind of like debating, as if I had a choice. I was delusional, but I was like, which one should I kiss? So I would think about that. And then, because you're away from home and, it's all fun. But then also 2 years in a row, I won the church camp talent show because I loved singing, but I very deliberately chose songs that were not church songs, but they were from musicals that I just knew like, these will win, the judges over. I was very ambitious. Anyway, it's a weird tangent to go down. But so my throwaway line was, that's what I got out of church camp. And somebody said, you should write a song about that. And as soon as someone said that, I thought, but it isn't a throwaway line. To me, church camp, is really triggering a lot of different things and why I ultimately walked away from religion. And I walked away from organized religion mostly because of the death of both of my parents and the fact that I was really sensing a lot of hypocrisy in the people that on Sundays would say one thing and the rest of the week I didn't respect kind of how they were, behaving and talking about things. So, that's a lot, especially in like the Midwest of America. It's not something I bring up. I would say, hey, guess what? This is why I left the church. But I just, I feel like it's a private thing. I don't think we all need to even talk about, each other's religion and each other's healthcare choices. But we do, and it's become political. So then I thought, okay, I'll write a song about it and just call it out for what it is, because I'm a grown woman now and I don't need to feel like I know that, being inappropriately groomed and everything else wasn't my fault. I was a little girl, and this happens to way too many people. And the victims of these, crimes don't always have a platform to speak out. And I could do it and just kind of normalize it and write a very catchy song.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of a country-ish feel too. It was fun musically just to even write that song because it's very, with another band, I think it could even be a country song. Maybe it should be a country song. I don't know.
You can always put on another version,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then a pivot to another one of my favorite, because I really like your voice and your ukulele go really well together.
Aww.
Because your voice is very clear, and I'm a sucker for British accents, so that probably helps too a little bit, but like it just fits all together. And so over and over,
in the mirror I still see your face, in the smiles of my girls you left a trace. After all these years without a sound, I was so lost until I found 40 seconds of film after 34 years of silence, a way to reel you in, pull you back from the distance. So much of my life I never had a choice, but I never gave up hope that I'd hear my mother's voice. I'd get to hear your voice again, over and over.
One line that hits me every time I hear it is 40 seconds of film after 3 or 4 years of silence. Can you tell me about the story of this song?
Yeah. I mean, this is a very, very serious kind of story, and a song that I didn't actually think would be on the Favorite Girl album. I thought this was a typical Katy Vernon singing about something hard in life and kind of, using it as an emotional outlet, which is kind of, what I love about songwriting. And this is a song that is very literal. My mom died when I was 12. I never had any recordings of her voice. I didn't have any videos. I didn't have any voicemails. I had nothing. Like, I never, ever, ever heard her voice again. And, everybody's brains work differently. But I think for a lot of people, you forget how someone sounds quite quickly. It's kind of one of the first things that, your brain can't kind of bring back, in the same way that, looking at a picture and stuff, you can remember them. And so I really mourned that I couldn't even think of what my mom's voice sounded like anymore. And I knew, and I discussed with my brother, that she had been on television. She was a guest on a BBC, news show when we were kids. We didn't even have a VCR back then. So, we didn't have it. We both kind of looked on YouTube over the years, but didn't even really know what we were looking for, just one snippet of a news show. Like, we just had no idea. But then, funnily enough, and I won't thank President Trump for this, but he was the person that made me look for it, was because this show that she was on, it's called Panorama. It's very much like 60 Minutes, but like the British version. And so this show, Panorama, is still running, and they came into my consciousness again because they ran a story about Trump that was making headlines because it was, some kind of radical truth telling that we were not hearing, at the time in America. So it was making some news. And it just made me realize, like, this program still exists, like the show my mom was on. So I wrote to them. I literally just sent them a Facebook Messenger, and said, my name, my mom's name. Sometime in the 80s, she was on your show. She was speaking about my brother. I literally just gave them all the information I had, which was not much. It was like 2 sentences. And the very next day, they wrote back and said, we have a snippet of your mom's appearance and we could send it to you. And, mind blowing. I mean, I hadn't heard her voice for, over 30 years. So it was amazing. And now I have it. I have a little clip of it just saved on my phone. I was able to share it with my brother. And at the very end of that song, you hear my mom's voice from that tape saying over and over and over again. And that's her saying it, which is very special.
So would you say that this song kind of wrote itself? Did it come pretty easily to you?
So all the stuff that happened that I just, mentioned, all happened, and then I kind of needed to sit with that and all the feelings that it brought up, which was a lot. I needed to kind of sit with it and like allow myself to just feel the feelings.
Yeah.
For probably about 6 months, I think, because then I think I said earlier, like if I sat down to seriously write a protest song, I would completely like clam up, because my biggest insecurity in life is thinking, what do I have to say about anything? Let other people say, the clever and insightful things. What do I, there's no words that I can bring to this situation. And I felt like that about this song, because I thought, if I write a song about this, it needs to be good, because it's a very big emotion and I want to do it justice. So I had to let it kind of sit and simmer. And then, knowing me, I probably took some long walks. And I probably finished it like in the shower, like a nice hot shower helps me finish choruses and like complete thoughts. And then lots of singing into my phone app. But yeah, it was a very healing song to write, because it kind of made me realize, like, I have something of my mom's now that I never thought I would have. And it really touches people a lot. A lot of people have sought me out either online or after I've sung it in person to share that they have gone through, almost the exact same thing. It feels like such a unique story, but elements of it are very, very relatable, sadly, to a lot of people. And that feels like a gift kind of in itself, that something I wrote that was potentially quite painful has felt very healing for a lot of people, like beyond myself, which feels kind of amazing. It's what's so special about music.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I couldn't sit and talk about it, without people kind of going, oof, it's a lot. Like, singing it to me is that's the only way I kind of know how to communicate. I feel.
Well, it's like when you told me about how you were just found out, like, even I got chills. Like, oh, because I know, like, I just like a. And one question I do have is, because on the song at the end, there is a clip of your mom talking.
Yeah.
So my question was there any part of you, while it was on a TV show and everything, was there any part of you that wanted to just keep that for yourself and your family and not put it out on the record?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a reason that you only hear that one snippet.
Yeah.
Because out of context, she was on a news show. So
Yeah.
it was a serious topic. She was
Mm-hmm.
actually on this show talking about my eldest brother, who's still alive. That there's three of us. I'm the youngest of three. I have two brothers. And she was on this show specifically talking about the very extensive and difficult disabilities that my oldest brother has. His name's Peter. I've written a
Mm-hmm.
song
Yep.
about him as
Yeah.
well. And Peter's birth and life were very traumatic and very, very difficult, and it changed my entire family's life, to have a son for my mom, to have a son that had such extensive disabilities. And there was a lot of trauma that she was on, talking about with his birth. And so, yeah, out of context, no one gets to see that. That's definitely just for my brother and I to have, because, she's talking about life and death, kind of, difficult situations. And yeah, that doesn't ever need to be shared. So I feel like I have that.
Okay.
And she has her, privacy, and then we get to hear her pretty voice just saying something that, no one can have an opinion or a right or wrong about, because they're just here. So it feels like a nice kind of best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's a nice way to end that song too. I was always curious about, because it's a very, especially when you're looking for so long, it's like, okay, do I, don't I, do I?
Yeah.
But no, but that makes a lot of sense. So just give it that, for the song, but then keep the rest for you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Totally.
Then you end the record closes up with Favorite Girl.
All we ever had is over, but I don't wanna run for cover. All we ever had is broken. The worst things ever said, unspoken. I wanna be that favorite girl that made you wanna sing. I wanna get back to what we had at the start of everything.
Could this be considered like the band's theme song, or what would you
Yeah.
say about this song?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, I wrote the song before I even dreamed up having a band. So I wrote the song literally, I mean, to cheer myself up and make me feel like, you know what? I mean, it was kind of, I felt a little bit like Taylor Swift writing about an ex, because, it was inspired by, the band breakup. And then also, it just felt kind of almost like a return to my teenage self. I kind of felt like I was never an Avril Lavigne fan, but, a little bit of Alanis, a little bit of, just that kind of like, I wanted to be someone's favorite again. I wanted to, it felt very kind of juvenile and teenage to just like wail on stage that I wanted, to have like a new boyfriend energy, in my life. And I'm a happily married woman. So it was never about finding a new date. It was always just about, I wanted to have that thrill of something new again. And it was just kind of a fun little, kind of flight of fancy. Like, imagine if I was like someone's favorite again. And once I, realized that I really liked the song, then I started Googling, like, if that would be a good band name. Because I was like, I feel like that could be a good band name. Because I thought, it'd be fun if someone said, who's your favorite girl group? And you're like, well, actually, Favorite Girl is my favorite girl group.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I just started, I fell in love with the idea of just choosing to declare yourself someone's favorite, because it feels, the opposite of what women of a certain age are supposed to do, which is just kind of accept that, you're an elder now, and you probably shouldn't be seeking the spotlight, and you probably shouldn't wear so many sparkles, and, maybe just be a bit more sensible. And I thought, no, like I had this kind of Gen X rejection of like, I'm not done. And so I don't know, it was kind of embracing my inner diva and brat kind of at the same time. I don't know, just amused me. And then I thought, well, it'd be really funny to be a band called Favorite Girl, sing a song called Favorite Girl on a full album called Favorite Girl. And here it is, it happened. So yeah.
Um, can you talk about the sequencing of the record? Like what thought process was behind how to order the tracks?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we're kind of in a post album
Yeah.
world. So many people never listen to an album, but I love it,
Oh,
and
I
I
do. Yeah.
I love that you asked that question. And I just kind of I threw it out there to the band because I did want everybody to, really kind of feel involved and take ownership and the band and then I will say most people didn't really didn't really care. I mean, I shouldn't say they didn't care, but they didn't insert themselves to the conversation other than Paul and I, and Paul was the one, so I kind of played around with listening to it and thinking, what things should go. I try to always think of it as like a strong set list. It's
Yeah.
like putting
I've
a
heard
set
that a lot too.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to take people kind of on a journey. And I never would have thought of starting with Thank You because that's not a song that we always did that towards, it was again kind of a newer song, but it was always a song that was kind of closer to the end, when you've already kind of won the audience over and then, you can kind of all have a laugh, at that song. And the audiences were really enjoying it, but it wasn't something I would have started a set with. And Paul messaged me one day and he said, I have a crazy idea, but just let me say it. And then it's done. And then we don't ever have to talk about it again. And I was like, all right, now I'm intrigued. What are you going to say? And he thought that we should start the record with it. And I said to him, well, that is so funny because I had just been having the same idea. Because also, we start it with the sound of a record.
Mm-hmm.
Coming down. So naturally, it sounds kind of like the beginning of a record. And that choice was just made because I wanted it to build and I wanted to start it with just solo voice and ukulele, because I wanted to kind of trick the listener into thinking it's just going to be a nice little acoustic, sweet little song. And then bang, in comes the band. And so for all of those reasons, even though they weren't all deliberately done, because it was recorded without that, in mind. But when we listened to them all and decided, what the order of the album should be, it just seemed like a no-brainer that you could put on a record, have that sound, and think, okay, I know what Katy Vernon sounds like. Yeah, this is what she sounds like. And then hopefully blow people away with what the full band sounded like. And from that point on, I think then it became more of a like, okay, what's the vibe? What would be, like Gather, like that feels like we're all at a party together, so that kind of seemed to lead in, to other songs and hopefully give people some highs and lows and then, yeah, bang them over the head at the end and remind them what the band name is.
There's also kind of thinking about like the, starting with Thank You. It's almost like a, it might also, while you want everyone to enjoy music, it might like do a nice kind of turn off the right people, like who you don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like, oh my gosh, this woman, just sounds like she's making fun of all men. Like, what is this about? Yeah, you know what? Maybe we're not bad for you. So we could clear them out if people aren't interested.
And when I was listening to the song, like I kind of had a laugh because like there's probably at least one guy who's probably like, that's all all we want was to thank you. That's all we want, and take it way too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think I also like that, I mean, like I said earlier, you tell people you're kind of wrote a feminist record and that's just going to be, people are going to be like, no, I don't want to listen to that. I wanted to establish that it's very tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I'm a happily married woman. I'm a mom of two, I mean, like, I literally look very conformist, from many, many, aspects. But I have the radical idea that women should be respected and get paid the same as men, and that maybe, we can be just as good on our instruments. Like none of that is radical. So if you're put off by that, I think that's a shame. But I do think that this record shows that you can make fun of the patriarchy and yeah, I think it should be made fun of. It's pretty ridiculous to give people different rights based on their genitals. I mean,
Yeah.
let's have a laugh about that. Like, it's so stupid.
I'm
What are we doing? Why do we live this way?
I'm a very personally modest person. So like you think I mentioned of genitals, I'm just like I'm an immature kid again. I'm sorry. um
Sorry. I thought it was a safe word to use on the
no,
podcast.
I know it's fine. No, see, I don't get offended. I just laugh 'cause I know
Yeah.
I just know it's funny. Um, so what? I mean, and I know this could be a hard question to answer because the record just came out, but like now that the songs are out in the world, what are your thoughts on these songs? Like on
It's interesting because I said to my husband, just literally a couple of days ago, like I'm just beginning to come down now from the ride of the CD release because, it's like planning a birthday party and a wedding and anniversary kind of all in one, and you kind of lose yourself in the planning and promoting of an event. So it's been lovely. I mean, the coming down, it doesn't feel fun, but coming back to reality, it is really lovely seeing kind of how these songs are resonating with other people. And, a lot of them are, people are, sending lovely messages and, the reviews have been fantastic. I mean, frankly, the best reviews of my career, which is amazing. So all of that is great. But I think for me, one of the most impactful things was you get so lost in the, like how much it costs to record and how much it costs to like manufacture and I began to just think like, oh my gosh, like the last year and a half of my life, I've spent so much time and money on this thing. And then when I went to pick up the CDs and I listened all the way through for the first time, driving in my car on the way back from picking up the CDs, I realized I was listening to the sound of my own empowerment and that the songs that began literally kind of, on the living room floor with just a ukulele are songs that are literally like pop anthems to make you feel better about yourself. And it worked. I felt really good about myself by the time I got home. And I just hope other people listen to it and feel that way, and then who knows what's next. I mean, ultimately, I just hope we get the chance to play on, some pretty cool shows and stay together for a band as long as it works for people and have fun. I don't really have any immediate kind of thoughts beyond that. It's all very fresh, like you said.
and it is like a very like I remember listening to the first time, uh, and like it's just a very positive, energetic record. Like it's a very positive sounding record, and
Yeah.
I'll I might take a little break from it just because of I listened to a lot for this interview, but like no,
I
it's
really
just
appreciate that.
but
Yeah.
like I really really enjoyed it, and you kind of mentioned about how hopefully this and I hope it does too because I think the whole band sounds great together. Um, so I mean, on your end when it comes to the music, I mean, do you see your songs for right now being going through Favorite Girl, or do you see like another kind of Katy Vernon band record?
I don't think there'll be, there won't be another Katy Vernon band. I
Okay,
think, I want to stay band focused with
got it.
Favorite Girl. But there will always be solo
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, I wrote and released a solo song literally like right after the album was done, and that wasn't deliberate, but that came out of Operation Metro Surge. And I wrote a song that literally I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to get my thoughts out. And I wrote the angriest and most political song of my life, called They Lie, because I literally was watching the news and was gonna like either throw my ukulele across the room or write a song on it. So I wrote a song and there really wasn't even enough time to get the band, together. So I just reached out to Kevin Bowe and we just recorded it together and got in, a drummer that he works with a lot. And then Paul came in on trumpet, and we released it in less than 2 weeks after I wrote it, which was kind of amazing. So I think there will always be projects and I will always, songwrite. And I guess I'll just see what kind of songs I write, because I'm very excited about writing for the band, and that will be Favorite Girl as long as they want to stick around and play with me. And then I think, yeah, I see myself kind of, enjoying being on stage as much as possible, but also, kind of my retirement plan, I think, is just to become a ukulele troubadour and, travel the world playing little ukulele songs. So I think I'll try to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the recording process, what was that like? I mean, are there any songs that you're particularly proud of how they came out for the final
Yeah, I mean,
version?
they all kind of come out differently. I think, it's a lot of just tracking. We're a band that, I would go in first and do a ukulele and vocal track, and then we do drums, then add in bass. So there's a lot of kind of building. So I think some of my favorite sessions were when I went back in to do backing vocals and just kind of be in the studio, with a couple of other people at a time. Like I sat in on, both Daisy and Allie doing backing vocals. And those were really, really fun days. I didn't even get to really be around a lot of what Paul did because, he's a busy working, guy, and he would just kind of run in and do his sessions. So it was definitely kind of pieced together, sitting next to Kevin and making choices like how much of my mom's voice to use, on the end. And I loved doing lots of kind of mixing sessions with Kevin. He would get everything, kind of 90% of the way there, but I really enjoyed, doing things like that and putting effects on things. The song, I'm trying to think which one, Getting Better. I chose to have a very kind of affected vocal in the verses so that then it sounded kind of stronger in the chorus. And it's all, studio mumbo jumbo, but I loved all of that. I really loved kind of learning some of that and really like, producing, I guess, like actually producing how a song is going to sound. And so to do some things like that, side by side with Kevin was very fun. And again, he's just really encouraging. And I would say, I think I have a really crazy idea. And he was always willing to try. And, we kept some of those ideas in. So that was pretty fun.
So as we're slowly wrapping up here, thank you for your time,
Yeah.
by the
Thank
way.
you for the in-depth questions. I love it.
What this year, like, I mean, what's next for you? A lot of shows? Is it?
Yeah. So keeping myself busy is, the ABBA tribute band that I'm in. I'm performing a lot with them, which is very, very fun. I mean, I have a lot of fun singing and performing those songs. Also, it's made me a better singer. Like I have stamina. I mean, when you listen to a song like Confetti, I'm singing constantly, like I barely take a breath. And I don't think I could have even sung a song like that without singing ABBA for the past 10 years. So I love doing that. I have a few favorite girl gigs on the books. The first of which is Memorial Day at Harriet Bandshell. So that's going to be great. So we've got, a few things to look forward to throughout the year. And other than that, just songwriting probably. I'm still very much in the album mode and need to kind of free up some space in my brain to do that. And every year I try to get to the UK to play some ukulele shows. So lots of things to dream about and plan. And yeah, just kind of plan what's next. I don't know yet.
So where can people find you on social media?
So Katy Vernon, so Katy with a Y, and then Vernon, Vernon. So Katy Vernon Music is me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Threads I don't really promote as much, but I enjoy being on there. I highly recommend it. And then I'm also on YouTube as Katy Vernon, and that's my only YouTube presence. So all of the favorite girl stuff is also going to be on Katy Vernon on YouTube. But then as far as favorite girl goes, we do have our own socials. So favorite is spelled with a U, the British way. And favorite girl, I think favorite girl band is probably the best thing to Google, and then you'll find where we're at. Yeah, all the places. Not really TikTok much. I'm on TikTok, but I never know what to do on TikTok.
I should do it. It's just like another thing to add to my
I
to what I
know.
do. It's just like
Well, and I do it for my day job. So I work at a theater and I do all of their social media. So I feel a bit burned out sometimes on
yeah.
social media. And it's funny, I think because I've done so much promo, which obviously I'm very grateful for. But there's part of me that just wants to like get in a cabin by the lake and just
Mm-hmm.
song.
Oh
Yeah. I'd love to just have a self-imposed songwriting retreat. I need to do that.
yeah. I mean, all the times were just like because when I listen to a lot of music, so I'll get ear fatigue. Now I'll just like
Yeah.
read a book, an
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
book. Like so.
Yeah.
So two final questions for you here.
Yes.
First one is bit of a weighty one. But what is one thing you would do to improve the Minnesota music scene?
I think well, I already tried to do it with booking. And I'm not booking anymore right now. Various cuts and changes and funding and decisions and stuff. So, I guess I have opinions on that too. But when I was booking, I just tried to make it more kind of democratic. I really hate the whole kind of gatekeeping thing and have felt, quite left out. I mean, I think we all are in our own little worlds and our own little lanes. And often you think that, the other side of, like you only ever see other people's highlight reels. You think, oh,
Mm-hmm.
she gets the attention, she gets all the shows. And you don't know how much kind of rejection there's been, for that person. So I try not to ever compare. But I'm just a big fan of trying to give people opportunities that are not on every bill in town, like just spread it around more. And then, my own personal mantra is just to get myself out to more shows and try to get out of what I would typically think of my genre and go see other people. And that's kind of my lesson to myself, but to everybody is just like get out and support other people and try not to just go see your friends, play. Because I think we're all a bit guilty of that. It's hard to get out. I mean, who has the money? But even if you can't do that, buy their merch, buy their albums. Don't just stream. If you're going to stream, try to send them a Bandcamp,
Yeah.
tip as well. So, but yeah, I think just trying not to book the same old people is the number one thing.
Yeah. And then one thing is because I know, like I said, you are part of what's called the Minnesota Music Resistance.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit and
Yeah.
what you and what that is?
Yeah, so basically, kind of, with the changeover in our, in our government,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of very passionate people, who were always, going to shows, Paul Engebretson, who was, fondly referred to in the music scene as Front Row Paul, because he was such a big supporter of music. He was very, very, worried and angry about the rise and kind of right wing and the whole Trump second term. And so he was just like, what can we do? What can all the musicians that, he has supported over the years and all the people that, get to know each other, what can we do? We do have a microphone, we do have a stage, we do have people that, listen to what we say. Sometimes we do have people that call us, all kinds of names as well. But why not use the stage and the microphone to bring attention and focus to groups like the Immigrant Law Center or MIRAC, that we're organizing and helping, immigrants throughout Operation Metro Surge. The ACLU is one of the organizations that we as musicians, and I was very interested and intrigued, when I saw people talking about it online. So I showed up to like the second meeting they had, which was, over a year and a half ago now. And basically it was like, we don't need to start our own nonprofit. There's already thousands of nonprofits. What we maybe could do is help through our concerts, through our social media, through, connecting and celebrating with each other, shine a light and use our voices to bring attention and funds to organizations that are doing the work of trying to protect immigrants, trying to get, mutual aid out to people. The ACLU, actually fighting the completely unfair, kind of laws that are being broken right now. I mean, the big, massive ice surge is not visible now. The 3,000 extra agents are not here now. But the Trump administration is still trying to strip immigrants of their rights. They're canceling naturalization ceremonies. I'm a blonde white lady living in the burbs and, speaking English, but I'm an immigrant and I'm proud to be an immigrant. And I stood in line and did that paperwork. I attended a naturalization ceremony. I'm very proud to be an American citizen, which is not, an easy sentence to say right now because I'm very ashamed of our government. I think the most patriotic thing you can do is speak out and use your freedom of speech. And, that's actually given a whole new feel for me for the song Not Going Back, because the more I've spoken out, I've had people online mostly tell me, go back to the UK if you don't like it here. And it's not that I don't like it here. I want it to be better here for everybody. And there wasn't a golden age of Biden. There hasn't been like this amazing, time where it's been great for everybody. I'm not that naive to think, oh, the current administration ruined everything, but they're making it harder and worse for so many people. And just because, as a white person, I'm not feeling the daily effect of that doesn't mean it doesn't break my heart. And I want to do something about it. So it feels good to be in a room with people that feel the same way, because sometimes you think you're going crazy when you see, crazy headlines and the fact that, Trump won again. I mean, it's just head spinning. So to be around people that say, yeah, you're not crazy for actually caring about other people. Like maybe we can, band together and do something good. That feels good. It also feels really good to help raise money for the ACLU and other places that we've so we put on concerts. What do? We don't just talk about it. We put on concerts. We sponsor other events. We share every single month. We pick a different organization that we think is doing good work, and we encourage people to give donations to them. And a couple of times a year, we want to do a really big celebration, and that will be on May 1st of this year at May 1st, 2026 at the Hook and Ladder. The Hook and Ladder have been really supportive. We're doing a big day-long music fest, and all of the money raised will go to the ACLU of Minnesota. So that's what we do. And I'm not performing. This is all just me volunteering my time because I feel passionate about it.
And last question.
Yeah.
Who are, and this will probably be hard for you. Who are 3 local acts people should check out?
3 local acts. Well, I think I'm going to very selfishly just give a shout out to bands that my bands are in. I would say Sally Forth, absolutely. Kiss the Tiger. They don't need any promo from me because they're currently crushing it.
Oh God.
But my drummer is also in Kiss the Tiger, and I just think that Megan Friedler, people know her and they've seen her. But, she really is phenomenal. She's one of the most exciting front people I've ever seen, regardless of male, female. She's just an absolute powerhouse. And she's also a fantastic actress. I just saw her in Lady Macbeth, in Macbeth, but as Lady Macbeth. They should have just called it Lady Macbeth because she was busting in it. But she's just, she's a fantastic performer. I mentioned how, performing in the ABBA band, has improved me as a singer. I mean, she is really at the top of her game. And I love that element of putting on a show, which they really do. And I guess we have to shout it out to Oyster Boy as well, just to be fair, so no one gets left out. Also, Elise Emmanuel, who's in Kiss the Tiger, is also in Ahem, and they're great too. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of talent in this town, and I think more and more. I feel like there's more bands than ever. And if you are booking a local, festival, you're definitely going to be overwhelmed by how many great musicians, and like you said earlier, a lot of them are girls, a lot of them are women.
Well, it's just like, and because you mentioned Oyster Boy, which and things like, I think like last week they just announced they're doing their own kind of festival too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
just
I didn't
some
know
kind
that.
of down, but it was on their social, so it's probably
Okay,
the band, but it's
I'll
just
have
like,
to look.
oh, like I don't know, like I think the last big festival I went to was We Fest, and like 15
Mm.
years ago. But like
I'm not a
I
big festival person. I actually find them really just kind of overwhelming. I mean, I'm enough of a diva that the only kind of festival I like is when I'm on stage because I don't like being in the crowd.
I like the smaller ones and
Yeah.
everything, but like I mean, I just it's
Do you
at
ever
some
go to
point,
Big Turn?
huh?
Like that's such a. Do
I've
you
never
ever go
been
to
there. I have never been
It's
there. I
fun.
know
I highly.
I just haven't.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. We didn't do it this year, but we did it the year before as Favorite Girl. And yeah, it's just fun. I mean, it's very Minnesotan because
Oh
you just
yeah,
like rush through the snowy sidewalks, into lots of different venues. But it's a ton of fun and yeah, a massive undertaking. I can't even imagine how they do it. But things like that are great. Like it would be fun actually to have a version of that in Minneapolis or St. Paul. It'd be fun to have like a kind of, a festival that involved all the different venues in town. That would be fun. That would be a lot of work. I don't know
yeah.
who would. I guess I'm not volunteering.
Kitty, I could talk to you forever, but I gotta let you go. Uh, Favorite Girls debut record is out now. You
Yes.
can get it pretty much anywhere, right? Like streaming
Yeah, you can
on.
stream it anywhere. You can order CDs currently from either my band, from my website, katyvernon.com. You can also get there by favouritegirl.com. It will get you to the same place, and Bandcamp as well. And then hopefully next month I'll have vinyl. I mean, I will have it. I just don't know how soon, but
Yeah,
I'm doing my first ever vinyl pressing, so
yeah.
that'll be pretty fun.
And
Yeah.
I'll probably be getting one of those too when they become available.
All right.
But
I will deliver
again,
one to you.
all right, Katie, thank you very much.
Thank you so
And I'll
much.
see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
All right.
Bye bye.
And that's it for this episode of the Melodic Noise Insider podcast. I want to thank Katy Vernon again for her time, and Favorite Girl's self-titled debut is out now. This episode was edited by me, and I also want to thank our producer Paul Thorson and editor-in-chief Andrew Parizo. Be sure to follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. Just type in Melodic Noise Media and you should find us. You can also join our Patreon to help keep the ship afloat. We should be adding some new content soon. You can find me mainly on Instagram at AndySmileyJ. Thank you for listening, and until next time, I'm Andy Ellis. Stay safe, support your community, and support local music. Take care, everyone.
Much time.